Hey, what's up, everybody? This is AFK Allied, the Hunter player for AFK Esports, and we're gonna be going over the fucking patch. So, obviously, the Rising Dawn patch notes comes out with another overpowered as fuck Guardian. If you watched Incon's review, you'll know that this guy is OP. Like, I don't even I don't even know what Hi-Rez is smoking anymore. This is fucking ridiculous. So, we'll start off by looking at the new guy, Khepri. Capri's. I don't know how to say his fucking name. So, his passive is every 5 seconds, Khepri applies a shield to himself and nearby allied gods for 3% of the target's maximum health for 15 seconds. His rate is slowed to every 10 seconds while in combat to the max of 15%. So, obviously, this is just fucking broken. Like, it's going to be not only a good lifesaver because he's basically giving a shield that stacks every 5 seconds, which is broken, but it's also gonna be before a team fight starts, like late game. Imagine just like your whole team just getting a full shield and then you just engage. Like that's I don't know. He's gonna be auto ban and competitive in his current state just by reading like what he can do. I can't imagine him getting through. Like it seems like he does way too much. Abduct, which is going to be his one ability, is he lunges forward, dealing certain amount of damage plus 40% of his magical power damage to enemies that he passes through. If he connects with an enemy god, he grabs them, pulls the motherfucker backwards, and they're crippled for the duration. So it doesn't seem like this is actually like a stun, but he can grab and pull, and they can't get away. Like they can attack him, but they can't get away. There's no possible way for them to actually get away. So yeah, that's gonna be nuts. Like I would imagine like for pickoff potential, especially like in the middle of a team fight, like he can just lock down someone and make sure he drags them to the their AD carrier, their damage dealer, and just make sure like, hey, guess what? You're dead. Like there's no way you can get out of it. Especially I would imagine you need beads or to kill him to actually get out of it. So we'll see. I'm gonna try out the PTS later, and we'll check it out ourselves. But for now, that just seems really strong. It's gonna be very potent. Rising Dawn. Now this move I think is just gonna have to get completely reworked or taken out, or I don't know. It just seems like it does a ton. So I'll read it off real quick. Capri's whatever rolls the sun forward, setting ablaze all enemies it touches, reducing physical protections by up to 25%. Like that's pretty crazy, and dealing um what's it called? And dealing damage every zero point 0.3 seconds for 3 seconds. So that's actually a pretty decent amount of damage. Allies that are hit take up to 50% reduced damage, so that is actually pretty strong. Considering that, like, you might just want to level up Rising Dawn first. Like, the fact that you can take up to potentially 50% reduced damage, Hi-Rez, you've done it again. Like, because as you guys know, like, I think the only guy close to this was Athena. Athena had a global ult that would reduce like the damage taken by 50% when you actually like were ulting on someone. But no, this guy has a 10-second cooldown. Like that's some shit. So we'll see how Rising Dawn does. I would imagine they were gonna nerf the fuck out of this god. So we'll check it out later tonight in the PTS. Make sure you guys check it out on stream. I'll probably post some videos about it. But yeah, I cannot imagine this actually going through the way it is right now. So for right now, that already says enough about this god. He is going to be nuts. Solar Flare, Khepri calls out the suns are at the target location, dealing blah 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 damage and roots target in the area. So it actually does a little bit of damage, and it has a pretty decent root. It has like the upwards of like 1.7 seconds. So, and it's actually a pretty decent cooldown. So this ability actually seems okay. Like he has a nice root, and okay. And his ult is Scarab's Blessing. He blesses an ally guy, immediately cleanses them all crowd control. OP. That's pretty good. All crowd control gone. That's nice. I'm a fan. And he also grants them 25 power, 40 movement speed at max rank, by the way, and immunity to slow effects. If the marked ally would die while blessed, they are instead revived. What? They are revived up for the upwards of 60% of their maximum health at Capri's location. I can't even believe this is allowed. Why? What? This guy is fucking amazing. He can do everything. He has he has the first resurrection ability in the game. Like he's actually just straight up like, hey, you died. Well, get res. Like that's crazy. He's gonna be really strong. Obviously, I'm sure Incont's probably gonna look forward to playing him. He might even be a jungler. I mean, he does a decent amount of damage. He could be a soul laner. He could be a mid laner. Like this, he's gonna be first pick, first ban, no matter what. I mean, I'd rather put him in AD carry before letting the enemy take this god. So, yeah, he's going to be nuts. Looking at the new skins, Afterlife Anubis looks really cool. Like I'm a huge fan of this skin. Looks actually really cool. The Renegade of Willix apparently has new effects, new particles, etc., etc. So if you do enjoy Willix, make sure to get that skin. A new Cabrakan skin, like a takeoff of Hulk. Definitely looks like a takeoff of Hulk, but it looks nasty. Like nasty in a good way. Looks really good. I'm getting this skin. The All for One Freya skin, getting this ASAP, putting my money down for this. The recolor for Khepri, and finally the Golden Legendary and Diamond Medusa skins. So I'm excited. The Medusa skin, honestly, the card looks cool. Probably the in-game animations and stuff aren't going to look as good, but the card definitely is worth the favor to actually purchase that. Now they have the new voice packs, okay. Probably going to, like, don't really care about that. Now the updated god cards, little mana, Vamana skin. This actually looks pretty cool. I like this. I like how he has like gold teeth now, and he's just rocking out. Like I love it. It's a really good change. They added grass to arena. Okay, whatever, right? Like no big deal. And now we have items. So for items, they nerfed and buffed a couple of items to make them a little bit more viable or feasible to actually purchase and make it worth your money, right? So Breastplate of Valor, even though I think so they buffed it, right? And they made it more cost efficient, and they reduced the mana it gave out, because honestly, if you need 550 mana, you're just not using your mana correctly, right? There's so many items in this game that give you mana. So if you actually like sat down and was like, "Hey, I need Breastplate of Valor for mana," then you just aren't using your mana efficiently. That's just it. So they actually reduced it, but to compensate for that, they also they buffed like the price of it. So now it costs a lot less, and you can actually get it without going out of your way. Like Breastplate of Valor seems like a more mid-game item now. Like you can slap it on. It's like more of like an Ikevol or an Aussie instead of like a complete purchase. It's like a mid-tier item. So Breastplate of Valor is probably going to get picked up on a lot of players. Like Guardians, it could picked up on Warriors. You might see a little bit more on mostly mages. I would imagine mages that want not only mana but a little bit of physical protection on top of cooldown reduction would probably get this item a little bit more. So it's definitely a viable choice. And now you can successfully sell it off later if you really want to. Maybe get like a Chronos pendant or something. So that is pretty cool. Shield of Regrowth got a buff. The buff doesn't mean anything. You're still not going to buy it. I mean, it's cool. Like, it's a cool little buff, but this item really doesn't have what it takes to be competitively viable as of right now in its current iteration. Soul Eater. Now, this item, this is a crazy fucking buff. This is actually the buff of time. So, before Soul Eater was barely ever looked at because it was just considered a troll item, because it actually didn't give you any good stats. It just gave you health, attack speed, and lifesteal, and it was like a passive lifesteal. Now they just completely revamped the item. They're like, fuck it, we're gonna make the item actually useful. Increase attack speed from 10 to 15%. Okay. The base lifesteal is actually pretty huge. It's 20% now, so that is just crazy. The passive aura now provides 15 physical power and 15 physical protection to allies. So now it could even be a potential support item at this point. Like that is crazy for like warrior supports or some shit. I don't know. But yeah, they removed the physical lifesteal aura from the passive, but instead you get 15 physical power and 10 physical protection. On top of the increased attack speed and increased physical lifesteal, you might for sure see this on Hunters. Like, considering that Hunters are in a weird spot right now because they have like 2 different build lines and people are building different shit. Yeah, like this potentially could make a comeback in the Hunter build order. So we'll experiment with that once we go on the PTS tonight. Celestial Legion Helm increased magical power from 40 to 60. I think this is a well-needed buff, but it still doesn't warrant actually buying this fucking expensive fucking shit helm. But for the right situations, this helm is actually good, but it's just, like, it's an extremely late game item. Like, you would have to get a 6th slot item. Like, that's the only time you would actually buy this item, in my opinion. Runic Shields, new passive aura. So this is basically the fuck you to Freya, Alquang, Kronos. Not only do you have your magical power reduced by 50, but the attack speed is also reduced by 20%. I would assume that does not stack with Witchblade, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't. They might have to revert it back, because it would be kind of dumb if you can get Witchblade and Runic Shield and just Frostbound Hammer and completely just shut down someone's attack speed. Imagine that with like Enfeebling Curse. Like, I'm pretty sure it doesn't stack, but that would be funny if it did. I wouldn't be surprised. You know Hi-Rez. So Ansel, 20 physical power, 40 magical protection, 15% cooldown reduction. Passive, you permanently gain 4 health now, so they kind of revamped the item. So now you just get 15% cooldown reduction flat, and now you permanently gain health per stack. So like that's pretty good. It's up to like, I think it's like 220, 240 health once you get it fully stacked. However, the item is still fairly expensive, and really it depends on the matchup you're going against in the soul lane. If you truly want to actually get this item, obviously this wouldn't be viable in the jungle or in the mid lane, but mostly a soul lane item. So you might see this built a little bit more. Warded shield reduced magical protection with 40 to 35. Okay. Like, no comments there. Enchanted Buckler / Warded Shield reduced the base cost of Enchanted Buckler from 820 to 750 and increased the cost of Warded Shield by 70 to make up the difference. Okay, so like they're messing around with the tier 1s and tier 2s of these items. Silver Talisman reduced the health from 200 to 125. Finally, Silver Talisman was very commonly getting built to tier 2 and just left there because the tier 3 item choices were really expensive, but the tier 2 offered so much base magical defense and base health. So there was no point to actually there's no point to ever build past Silver Talisman because you got the nice magical protection and you got a nice amount of health. So unless you really needed it, you could just start your next item. And it was cost efficient enough for you to just build Silver Talisman and be okay. So finally they nerfed it. So now you can't get, fucked. If you're just a magical and soul lane, you can't just get counterpicked with that item. And just be shut down until you get penetration. So that's bueno. That is great. Heartseeker Doom Orb are now available in Assault. Hooray! Telkine's Ring no longer provides magical protection. Now provides 100 health. Don't know how I feel about that. I would have to try it out. Also, I don't even know much gods besides Alquang and Freya that you'd pick Telkine's Ring up on. So, I mean, we'll take a look at the item once we hit the PTS. My thoughts is people are still not going to build this item. Unless, you're specifically an auto attack mage. But yeah, you never know. God balances, so we're going to skip over. These are like small little hot fixes. Opwash, his ult. The slow got gutted from his ult. I think that is going to be huge. Is it going to gut Opwash? Is like Opwash dead because of this? No. But it's still a huge change. I mean, Opwash still has crazy damage potential. So he's probably still going to be very viable. But like, this is a huge nerf on his ult. Like, this is absolutely huge considering that now you can just walk out of it. So it's more for a zoning ult than it is like more often than not, you're probably never going to get people in this ult for more than like a second or two because you could just walk out or you could jump away or you could just back the fuck up. There's never a point to actually sit there and get hit by it if you could just back out. So I would imagine Outwatch is not going to be as highly prioritized now, but he's still going to be good in his own regard. Now Athena, blah 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 blah. Bellona finally getting nerfs. Thank you. Alright, so now we can have people like Devios like not kill me anymore. This should be great. Bellona's kit has many strengths. Blah blah blah. So they reduced the slow on shield bash and made it scale. So it's actually better late game, but finally at earlier ranks it is not 30% slow at all ranks, which I always thought that was dumb because you can get slowed at level 1, which means that it's a free invade for Bellona. So, finally, after like many patches, Hi-Rez finally adjusts this issue. Eagles Rally increased the cooldown to 75 seconds at all ranks. Finally, because it was kind of bullshit that her ult was up like every 2 seconds. Like that's how it felt like, especially if you got cooldown reduction on Bologna, which you didn't even need to, but if you did, your ult was literally like 40 seconds or 30 seconds. Like it was actually dumb. So now finally Bologna getting adjusted, and her ult is 75 seconds at all ranks. Is this enough to really make her unviable? No, she's still gonna be strong in jungle and solo, but these are good things to tone her down because she is so potent right now in the meta. Because not only is she a flex pick, but she can carry a game while being insanely tanky. Like, no problem. Looking at the other things, I think that is it. Oh yeah, Robin, he does get just his base ability stats buffed, his cooldowns buffed, like everything gets a flat buff across the board, and that's because Hi-Rez didn't actually try in making this god. They just kind of like, hey, let's just fucking whatever. And Ratatasker actually gets fucking, he gets nerfs, and this is actually a pretty huge nerf. This is potentially like Ratatasker will not be in the first pick, first ban phase anymore. He might still get picked, but in terms of viability competitively, I don't know. This was huge because the mobility was kind of the saving grace to Ratatasker. He's still gonna have crazy damage output, but he's not gonna have the same mobility in a team fight. He's not gonna be able to dash 6 times. They actually cut it in half. They decreased the distance traveled, and yeah, like this was huge. Not to mention they also nerfed his ult, so if you do end up catching him without a dash, it takes 1.5 seconds to actually charge up and go up into the trees with your ult. So this is huge. This is actually, Rat is potentially like average now, which is great. Like he still does a butt ton of damage, but is he an insane hyper carry with infinite escapes? Not really. I mean, like you could still realistically catch him in a team fight and kill the little motherfucker now. So that's great. And yeah, that is about it. Everything else is about like pretty much bug fixes, skin details, etc. So if you did enjoy the this patch note review, feel free to subscribe to myself on YouTube. I try to do a video every single day. I will obviously be coming out with new content in like ASAP. I'm starting to really ramp up my YouTube just because over the next 2 weeks we're not going to be doing too much, waiting for the new split to actually start. So yeah, for now I'm going to be streaming every single night. You can catch me anytime after 7 p.m. onwards into the morning. So yeah, make sure you guys check out my Twitch. I think tonight we're going to try to do some PTS. But yeah, have a great day, and thank you guys so much for watching.